we're talking trading. We're talking parenting was the beginning of the conversation, and being a father and protect, provide, and preside, and boss, Mr. ICT, Mr. Michael Huddleston. Thank you for being here and taking the co-host tag. How are you today, sir?
Morning, brother. How are you?
I couldn't sleep last night. I was so excited, bro. I'm just keeping it real.
I don't know why. I mean, we spent almost 4.5 hours talking in a
I
a
know,
discussion that
because
unfortunately was
I
plagued.
love it, bro. I love it. I love engaging and talking with you and just being one of your students on Front Street. I love it. I mean, your wife, I mean, we only stopped talking because your wife was texting you, right? Like, she's like, are you coming to dinner or not? Right? Like, so anyway, did you get any brekkie? Did you get some coffee? Are you a coffee drinker?
I do not drink
I don't
coffee.
remember. I didn't think you did. Do you like eggs? Are you a coffee drinker?
I do not drink
I don't
coffee.
remember. I didn't think you did. Do you like eggs for brekkie?
Yeah,
Bagel?
I eat eggs. I had eggs this morning, actually.
Nice.
Egg whites, actually.
Nice. So, the early part of the conversation, just to say it succinctly, and a few of my posts, just in the theme there, because we have jumped into some trading, right? But we were talking about parenting, and I wanted to ask you specifically how Cody's doing. I'd like to start the conversation with maybe you giving us a how he's doing, a follow up, in a little bit more in depth of because I say that to say protect, provide, and preside that was kind of the theme. Girl dads understanding, kind of, being a parent, how that changes your why as a trader.
Well, it's been over a month now that he's been out of what would be considered life-threatening. And as his dad, obviously, I know him better than most people would. If you were to sit down and talk to him, you probably wouldn't notice anything different about him, but I can tell that there's something still not right there. And it's a miracle he's still here. Obviously, I'm very thankful for that. But there's just something I can't put I was literally talking to my other son, Caleb, last night about this because he came by and visited, and he asked how Cody was as well. And I said he had visited a few days ago, and I don't know how to put my finger on exactly what it is that's different, but he's not totally himself. So they kind of warned us and told us it could be like that for months, and not to draw any kind of special attention to it because you don't want to alarm him or make him think about anything to stress about. But he had a lot of irritable swings in his moods for the first couple of weeks. That seems to have smoothed out, but it just doesn't seem like himself. It's not like he's not slower, and he's not. It's not that he can't recall certain things, but as a dad, you know your kid, and I just don't think he's quite there yet. And I'm hoping that he gets a full return back to his personality and his normal everyday life, the way he functions. He goes to work again. He's fine in that regard, but I just know that there's something just a little bit off. And my wife said the same thing, but she doesn't want to say more about it because there's power in tongue, and we don't want to give it any more energy than I've already said here. But apart from that, he's improved greatly. He's back to working, and he and his fiance are planning on getting married. So that's a good thing.
Wow, that's a huge milestone. So
Yeah.
so in a lot of ways this has been kind of, I mean, obviously, I mean, have you noticed a level of maturity just as a dad talking about our kids and going through traumatic event, right? Ha, is his worldview really changed? does he value or appreciate the things that he has differently that you notice?
I'm greatly appreciative of where he is now mentally about everything. Because when he was younger, I was the typical dad that wanted to have his kids grow up, believe in the Bible and go to church, and this is what you should behave like, and this is what you should abstain from, and I was really aggressive about it when I first started living it, and looking back, that's not the right way of doing it, but you feel like it is, and he kind of resisted it a lot, and then in his earlier teens, he just basically said, I'm not believing it, and it caused a little bit of a rift between us where he lived a lifestyle that was not something that I would agree with or support. But I let him do what he had to do to discover it's wrong. And I tried to tell him not to buy the motorcycle because I made the mistake of buying one too and messed myself all up. He didn't listen and he kept taking risks, taking risks, taking risks. And I told him, I said, you can only do that so many times before eventually it happens and you can't call it back. And you could either get checked out and your ticket punched or get something that would be debilitating for the rest of your life and regret. And it's probably worse. And he was riding without a helmet, having his dogs chase him. And that was like their daily exercise. And they just got home from having dinner at a restaurant. And he took off down the road, going about 40 miles an hour. And his stepbrother was walking his dog at the end of the road. And he ran out in front of the motorcycle. And to keep from running him over, he panic braked all front brakes and went over the handlebars. No helmet. And when he landed, the back of his head, which is the same injury that everybody gets when they get killed from the one punch knockout. The pieces of shit that do that and like to record it. When they fall and they hit the back of their head, they die from that injury most of the time. And he had literally a quarter of an inch separating him in that same fate. He was telling me prior to the accident that he was never going to not ride a motorcycle, and he wanted to get a faster one. And I was like, I can't stop him. He's an adult. But long story short, now he doesn't want the bike. He doesn't want to restore it. He never wants to get on it again. And he's appreciative that God spared him. He has a different perspective on his life and how he feels like he's been kept here, given another chance. Those were things I prayed for. And I literally said, Lord, if you have to put him through something to get his attention, do what you got to do, because as his dad, I can't reach him anymore. And now, mindset wise, and how he wants to walk forward, he wants to be more responsible. He wants to be here for his fiance, and they're talking about having kids eventually. And you can't do that if you're not here, and you can't do that effectively if you take risks with your life. So he's no longer interested in trying to be a motorcycle operator anymore. So I'm very thankful for that.
Well, I think on behalf of the community, I think we're very thankful that he's on this road to recovery. So, I mean, lot of thoughts and energy going out to you and yours. And I know he's been a thought on a lot of folks' mind, and it's been brought up to me. And having you here, I'm glad that we're able to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I understand how it's still heavy and probably tough to kind of relive or talk about. I can only imagine as a father. So we don't have to harp on it by any means, but I think we wanted to just kind of address it a little bit, if that's cool.
Yeah.
And we did. So with that, I'm looking at a tweet that is there something you wanted to talk about specifically, or is there a topic that you would like to introduce to the room?
No, when we did our interview, I mean, we went for like 4 hours, 4.5 hours, something like that.
4.5, almost 5 hours from my
Yeah.
notes.
And we had issues with where on my end, because I was recording it, the video would hang up and it would glitch. And I had another interview that I did, and I wish it wouldn't have been like that as well. But the bandwidth caused a problem for Zoom, and your internet connection was coming through in like breaks. So I didn't want to put that up there, and I told you we could do it again. But I don't think I want to do the video. I think this is actually a better medium. It's a little bit more. Um, I'm more comfortable in this setting.
Me too, bro.
I I,
Me
I
too.
like the idea of these just being able to speak like out into the ether and not have someone staring back at me and me staring at them. It's a really I'm a very introverted person, and you may not think that's possible because how I go off on the Twitter spaces, but I am very introverted. And if you ever met me in public, I would be very reserved and quiet, and I wouldn't be like I am usually on a Twitter space. Like now I'm talking to you, I wouldn't be this comfortable talking with you in front, and you face to face. It wouldn't be like that. I'd have to get to know you a little bit and be around you a little while, and then maybe slowly work out of that shell. But I saw you mention, or not saw you mention, but I heard you mention um, the last spaces you were hosting, and you're asking if it was all right for you to upload what you had. And I was like, there was some things that we talked about that I didn't want. Yeah, I think it's the same thing with Corbs.
Right.
Corbs
No,
asked a
for
lot of
sure.
questions.
I didn't record anything, by the way. I had one screenshot picture, just one, and I was on an iPad. And out of respect to you, I would never do that. I took notes fervently afterwards just because it was so important to me. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have any documentation or record of our conversation outside of my notes, just for the record.
If you did, I mean, I just felt it would be a little bit more organic to sit down and kind of like have a discussion. Because I love the fact that you've built this community. And while I haven't been in every single one of them since the inception of it, and when I first discovered it, there was a few times I wasn't able to make it because of personal, schedules and things that wouldn't permit me to do it. But when it's available to me to be able to sit and listen to it, I do. I may be doing work around the house or doing things, that require my hands-on stuff, but I'm listening to it in the background. And just to be able to hear, how everybody comes forward, and not necessarily the folks that use what I teach and what I've contributed. It's not just that. I love the fact that there is an acceptance of everyone that is a trader, because I'm vilified many times, and I've done this to myself, and it's part of how I marketed to myself. But I wanted to be abrasive, so that way people would talk about it. And then when they came to investigate what it is I was teaching, um, they would either be converted or do what I believe is impossible, prove what I'm teaching isn't the market. And they have not been successful in the latter, but I've converted a lot of people to see things a little bit differently. And they don't have to like me. It's not about worshiping me, but I feel that the way this industry is going, um, I tend to be the poster child for the chaos side of it. And my community many times gets the brunt end of what's wrong with the trading community. And I don't want that. And when I came out and started teaching for free, I kind of like wanted to remove that stigma that was there. And it's still a useful thing for people that want to market their own stuff. They'll say, ICT or ICT's community, bunch of cult members, and they're fanatics, whatnot, and they think everything else can't make money. I am aware that other people make money. I have friends, longtime friends, that literally use things that have nothing to do with anything mathematical or charts. They just go with their gut and say, this is what I think is going to happen. And because they do really well in money management, they make profits, but it's not a lot. They still work their job, but they can pay for their little toys every now and then, a couple times a year with what they've earned. Now, does that make them unprofitable? No, of course not. They made money. And I'm not going to criticize them. They don't ask me my opinion of what it is they do. They just think, you probably look at what I do and think it's nuts. And I just smile and yeah, I'm not going to say anything, but yeah, I wouldn't do it that way. But your community, and I don't know if it's been like this from the beginning or if it's something that's evolved over time, but you're very inclusive. And I absolutely love that. And I think that that is what makes this trading industry something that's helpful to other people, even if you don't subscribe to the same view or approach to trading. For someone like yourself to help cultivate that and kind of like be the, the the tip of the spear to kind of like say, hey, look, this is what we can be doing, instead of saying, you know, you don't do well as a trader, or you're a fraud, or you can't do this and your stats are less than this one, or this one does it better than that. You know, that really doesn't do anything for anybody's bottom line. And it's a wonderful drama. You know, it creates a lot of distraction from doing the things that matter most, which is improving your own edge and developing who you are as a trader. And for folks that are easily distracted with that kind of stuff and spend most of their time with it, to me, you know, that just indicates that your head's really not in the game. And I love listening to the like-mindedness that everyone has here, because they share a genuine concern about progress collectively, not just their individual progress, and they care for other people when they share openly, which is another thing I love. When your community members come forward and they talk about the things that they're going through as a hardship, you know, I can resonate with that because I've been through everything. And I didn't have this type of thing. Like I've never drank alcohol. I never had a substance abuse problem. I don't take medications. I don't take medicine at all. And if I was a substance abuser, I obviously would go to things like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. Those type of support things, I would be using that, because I'm a firm believer of being in a community where you can see other people are going through what you're going through, and it's normal. Because when you go through pain, you go through struggles with anything, it tends to create this depression, and it grips you and it makes you feel like it's only happening to you and nobody could understand. And in trading, this is such a difficult thing to overcome because you're competing with yourself while in a state of ignorance. You can't see beyond what you already know about yourself and what you have a limited understanding about the markets. And that experience is growing very, very slowly in the beginning. So you're constantly feeding yourself reasons to not even try it. And you feel like what you're thinking or doubting or fearful of is only happening to you because you're the failure. And when your community members step forward and they talk about, hey, this is what I'm going through right now. And it's nice to hear other people encourage them and also hear that this is what they did to get through it. That to me is empowering. I love that. And many times I got emotional listening to some of the folks that have been emotional and have their hearts on their sleeves. That's that's tapping into the reality of what it is like to be a human doing something so extremely difficult, where it's a thankless endeavor in the beginning. No one's going to support you doing this. In the beginning, everyone's going to give you every reason why you shouldn't do it. They're going to try to talk you out of it. You're going to try to talk yourself out of it. And it's going to be very, very hard to stay with it. And if you can find a community like what you have going here, man, it is such an oasis, because I would have loved, I absolutely would have loved to had the access to something like this where other people were literally there talking and going through what it is that they have to mow over, and the loss and the feeling of, can I get past this? You know, what am I going to have to focus on to get through this? And asking other people's perspectives. You know, how did you deal with this? You know, am I foolish in thinking that this would be a solution or an approach to get past it? What did you do? And is this wrong, or is this a better way of doing it? That to me is amazing. That's better than any kind of book out there, because it's allowing people with real experiences and real issues that you may not have encountered yet, or encountering right now, but you're too afraid to talk about it. You're too afraid to deal with it. You try to hide, turn your face like it's not really there. And that's a problem. You have to just deal with it. You have to meet it head on and don't be afraid of it. And if you fail while trying, that's progress. That's literally progress, because you're going to look back and say, okay, I tried it this way. That didn't work. I tried it that way. That didn't work. Okay, I'm at my wit's end, but I'm not giving up. Let me ask someone else. I want to ask my peers in a like-minded environment where everybody in your community, they're not attacking each other. They're not saying, oh, well, you don't trade our way. Oh, you don't do this. You don't do that. For instance, that guy, I don't know his name. I don't even think he has a name. the other guy that you learn under.
M7. M7.
Yeah, yeah. There for a while, his community and my community, they were trying to get some spat going, whatnot. Everybody's got a team mentality. Everybody has a team mentality. Everybody gets their alma mater, behind them, and they want to raise their banner and their flag and all that business. And I'm of the opinion that, listen, if the students have an issue with someone else's methodology and the methodology is making the other group money, they have no argument. There's no argument there. This community, I've never heard anyone in this community say, or at least the ones I've listened to, where they have not been very cordial to one another. And to me, that I have a great deal of respect for that. Because number one, that's not selling drama for the sake of selling your brand. It's reassuring that if they have the results using that methodology or any other methodology, they're blooming where they're planted. They don't need to do or do what I do or what I teach. They could give two shits, really. They don't care because they found something that fits them. And that's all I try to do. I try to cultivate that mindset. Well, whatever it is that you do, you might use just one idea that I have introduced as a school of thought. That doesn't mean I mentored you. That doesn't mean you got to go around and tell everybody I was mentored by ICT and you got to carry me around like a celebrity. I don't want that. In this community, while your name for the Twitter handle has my name in it, and it's about ICT concepts. It's not predominantly ICT concepts, which that's the direction I want to see. Like I want to see a departure from me, and I want to see what other people do with the information and how it makes them a better human, a better trader, and not have to always reflect back to me. And you've created an environment where you're allowing that. You're not like a fanboy, which I get it because if when I was younger at 20 years old, I would have went nuts to meet Larry Williams. Like I would have went crazy just to meet that guy because I elevated him up to some unrealistic plateau that no man should be placed to. And I'm the least of which anybody should do that. I'm a terrible teacher. I don't control my tongue well. I'm not a good advocate for Christ because I can't control my tongue, and it's things I struggle with. So there's a lot of things I can check off as a checklist of where my frailties are. So I should not be championed around like most people like to do with me. And I love the fact that you conduct this community in a manner, and I'm glad you're very respectful because for folks that don't know, I've asked in the interview that Kit and I had where we talked for a while, I said, listen, I love sitting in and listening. I just don't have another account where I can go in and listen and other people not know I'm there. I don't do sock puppet accounts. I don't do those types of things. But I wish there was a way for me to have had to sit in and never be recognized in there because I want the people that come forward and talk and be part of your community to pretend I'm not even there. Don't make it about me. Just talk about what it is that you brought yourself there to talk about. And if you want to say something to me, I'm on Twitter and you can say hi to me. I'll like your post. I'll say something back if I feel like I have to do it. But that setting, that's the part that makes it uncomfortable for me. Like I don't want to be like that. And you've been very respectful in regards to trying to steer the community members to not do that because I'm not here to hear people talk about me. And I want people to hear it from me in your community that I love it when you don't talk about me and you just talk about your experience. I'm genuinely interested, much as like I said when you were talking to me in the Zoom live. I have a genuine, sincere interest in other people's experiences. That's what I want. I want to spend the rest of my life after November watching and observing and looking at seeing what everybody else is doing. I have a genuine interest in it. It's a sincere interest that I don't have to monetize. I don't have to have my name brought up about it. I just want to see what everyone does with it because I'll be blessed by that by default. I don't need to have someone, parading around and advertising me. And I think you've done an amazing job of managing your community in that regard and still making an allowance and an inviting atmosphere for other people with different approaches to trading, where they can feel like, sometimes they'll open up and say, well, I don't trade with what you guys use, but this is what I do. But I like the community. That's exactly what you've done. You've created that atmosphere where normally someone might not go to a live streamers or a podcast um, event or venue because they're very team oriented. They're this and only this. That kind of causes someone to feel standoffish and say, well, if I go out there, they're probably going to try to pin me down and ask me why I don't want to subscribe to their view and what makes their methodology better. And that just creates an argument that no one can win because no one would convince me that what I use isn't better than everything else when I know personally that I think that there's nothing else better than this. But when people hear me say that and they're either learning or they're using something that's profitable for them, they tap into that team mentality. They want to go back to college football. Well, my team's going to kick your team's ass in the playoffs, or I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's your NASCAR driver. It's your whatever the hell it is, your MMA fighter. It's this team mentality. I can't stand that. Like I literally cannot stand it, and I try to smash that with everything I say. And even when I talk about myself, I don't want any of that stuff in my community. And I think that you've done a more effective way of managing it and allowing for an immersion experience where no one can feel alienated. I mean, I love when you put your foot down and people are in here fucking off. You hear them talking about, yeah, I've done this and I've done that. I never lose a trade. I think it was a couple spaces ago. I almost pissed myself. The guy's like, yeah, I do this and I do this and I haven't ever losing trade. And you're like, okay, hold on. What you're telling me is you never win. I'm sorry, you never lose and you always win. Get the fuck out of here. That's what you do. That's exactly, you got to broom that bullshit. But everything else, you're very, very good at managing the the atmosphere for everyone else to feel comfortable. So if you want to come on and you want to talk bullshit, good, call it what it is, broom it, get rid of it. But you've allowed for people to have a ulterior perspective or alternative perspective and not feel, at least from my observation, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable. Nothing was cringy about it where another style or approach to trading that the members would come forward in the community, or maybe it was their first visit. And they always thanked you that you've allowed for this medium in this community for people to come together and meet. And I think that you should be recognized for that because what you're doing, this community in the industry itself needs more of this type of stuff. And you conduct yourself very, very well. Um, and you've done a very effective job of allowing for the open invitation for people to come forward. And I think more people should be here.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for those flowers, Michael. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement, the recognition. And I want you to know, and I want anybody and everyone that's listening, like a lot of this is, I mean, I'm 45, I turn 46 in a few weeks, right? And a lot of this very similar to things that you've said throughout your episodic life's work that you've pushed out there when I was 20, or if I could, if I could go back in time, like I really do look at the 20-year-old who's listening and those things, those lessons that I think are extremely impactful and powerful. Number one is respect, right? I mean, listening to what someone wants to their request. I think respect amongst men is primordial, and not just men amongst traders. But then also, Michael, I mean, I want to turn and I want people to understand what I believe your life's work is this self-improvement manual above and beyond trading, and wherein even how you utilize numbers and timestamps, and whether your intuition is flaring or you're doing it mindfully, or the terminology of a market structure shift and a change in character, and where and how the guide to a person's individual improvement of self, going from that introspective, that intrapersonal dialogue within themselves to where and how they interpersonally can reflect and deal with others and or the market itself. I think it's a masterclass on self-improvement. And I think there's so many more deeper levels emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in which you've touched on over the years, time and time and time again, that why so many folks are able to listen to you. And a lot of folks might not have that father figure. A lot of folks might not have that mentor in a space that needs it. You've done a master class in providing a way in which a young man or woman can really take on these challenges within life and be able to apply becoming a professional decision maker, not just on the charts, in life. And I mean, I just want to tell you, as a student of yours for as long as I've been a student of yours, maybe it's from an older man's perspective, but this community is forged in your work. And I believe strongly the advanced concepts of ICT are the core tenets of which this community have been found on. And you've heard me say it, and I say it again. It's this mastermind principle. We're stronger together than we are alone, that we can accomplish more together than we can together in a year than we could individually in a lifetime, that we rise by lifting others. You've asked this question repeatedly. If you had the gift, you've referred to it to me personally as the increase. What do you do with it? And for me, that's to trumpet as loud as fucking humanly possible ways in which to help other people. We rise by lifting others, which I think is a Rand Ingersoll quote. But these to me are core tenets within your life work that as an older, maybe more mature father and trader, I've been able to conceptualize and articulate. And we have based everything within this community based off of what I believe are the core tenets that you've provided us as a student body. So I appreciate all the flowers, but I still turn it and say very gratefully, with a lot of respect, thank you. And on behalf of the student body, bro, none of us would be here without your insights and your clarity and what you've been able to provide this global community. I mean, you're teaching third world folks, kids, how to have hope. Man, if that
It's
doesn't
very
deserve respect, I don't know what does, bro.
it's very overwhelming when, like, I wish I could have more time to be able to reply to everybody that sends things to me. Like, I feel like I'm cheating them from the opportunity that they just want to have a moment to thank me. I see all of the notations. I see every comment. I see every thing that I open. But there's so many emails that I get every single day. Like, it's at a pace and quantity that I can't. If I did it 18 hours a day nonstop, no breaks, I wouldn't even scratch the surface of the correspondence I get. And that's why I reply in blanket statements a lot, because a lot of it's the same thing. They just want to say thank you. And the way you thank me is turn your life around with it and then bless somebody else with it. That's how you do it. That's the currency here. I want to see other people be impacted on a positive with what you do with it. What you do with this, how do you bless somebody else with it? And I didn't have that mindset when I first started. I talked about this when we were having the interview, and I said it many times in the past as well. I was initially just wanting to get out of the rat race and not have to work the rest of my life. And then when I see how fast the market can pay out, it changed me. It turned me into a very greedy, self-centered person, which is what money can do to anyone. And you think it might not happen to you, and this is how I felt about it. But I turned into a very arrogant prick. Now, you think I'm arrogant now, but I am nothing compared to what I was when I was in my 20s. And it was disgusting, very offensive. And I wouldn't be able to tolerate myself today. Some of you probably can't tolerate me now, but it was very, very, very disgusting. And when I talk to my children, because that's who I'm really aiming at when I'm talking in the videos, and unless I'm specifically calling somebody out by name and I'm addressing something that I feel that they could use or whatnot. And I said this to my son Caleb last night. I said, because I was listening to your Twitter space the other day. I said, yeah, which one? And he's like, this and that. And I said, yeah, I was thinking about your brother. When I'm talking, I'm talking about your brother. And I'm envisioning them in the room, and I'm trying to picture them sitting in front of me, and I'm counseling them. And many times I put the hat on as if I could be my own father and talk to my younger self. This is what I wish I would have had a dad tell me. And I didn't have that. My father, he's been in prison my entire life. I've not been able to have that type of connection with him. So as a child, I lived in a fantasy world that my dad would get out and marry my mom, and everything would be happy, and I'd have a normal childhood because I had to live vicariously through my friends' parents and being like a surrogate son and daughter and brother and father and mother kind of entity in that environment. I was attracted to that. And many of the friendships that I had were strong because I wanted to be part of that family fabric that they had. And I was envious of that. I didn't have it. So bringing up my children and wanting them to be in a position where if the Lord so decides that I got to go and he's calling me home, I could have met with an untimely demise, just like my son almost did. Again, it could still happen. Like this could be the last time I'm talking to his face. Nobody's promised tomorrow, but I try to leave these things down so my kids can hear me and they know I'm talking to them. And I get it that a lot of the students, and this is like the number one thing that I get as a response, and people send it to me through TradingView comments and whatnot. I feel like you're talking to me. Like when I'm listening to you talk, it feels like you're talking to me. And that rapport that we build together, I'm appreciative of. But in all honesty, I'm talking to my children. And because I'm talking to my children, everything I'm saying is all truth, all emotion. I'm 150% behind what I'm saying. And that's why sometimes I get emotional because I want them to succeed. And by default, because all of you have inclined your ear to the things I'm putting out there, you're giving me your time, which is invaluable. Like there's no price tag to put on that. Like no mentorship cost or fee, could scratch the surface of you giving your weekend hours of listening to some man, talk about things, and you glean from that what you should be doing in your own personal life. Like I'm a regular person. Like that's all I am, a regular person with a lot of various experience in doing things that I wasn't formally trained to do. Everything I learned in college, I don't even apply it. It's not applicable. I couldn't even get a job with it. The Lord said, no, this isn't where I want you. And I asked for the gift of teaching. And I still believe if he gives me more time here, I think I can improve as a teacher. But I don't feel I hit the mark yet. And I want to make lasting impressions on my children. And by default, for the folks that have an affinity for what it is that I try to do, I'm appreciative that they feel that rapport and that they with what it is I'm teaching and sharing, and appreciate the fact that I'm doing it where I don't have to. Like, I don't have to do it. And I don't have to make known the things that I give out publicly. I don't have to give the personal things that go on in my family and what my children encounter and how they're wrestling with certain things, and or what I wrestled through. Most people would have been too embarrassed to ever talk about some of the things I've brought up about myself. But I want you to understand that there's a real person that went through some of the things you may have not encountered yet, or maybe you have gone through it and you felt that it was too overwhelming, so don't bother. And you just can't leave trading alone. You just come and you hang around people that talk about it, but you can't do it now because you're too scared. Now, I've been there. I've been there. And my son Cameron, he went through a little bit of it, but he's back in there again. He's up $1,300 on one of his Express accounts. 3 days of winning, and I told him, I said, you just gotta stay at it, and don't keep swinging for the fences all the time. You can't do that. It's normal to try that. It's normal to have that desire to do that. But when you fail and you fall down, that's expected because you're trying to do more than that's necessary. And over time, you'll learn to have better footing. You'll know exactly how you stand when you throw that haymaker, and that way you don't get off balance. You're trying to do everything behind every single attempt, and you'll learn how to measure this activity level you're trying to produce for results. No book can teach you that. I can't articulate it, and even in videos or Twitter Spaces, that's the part that everybody has to work towards and get with their own experience doing it. And everybody that fights me on this or asks how long is it going to take, or this takes too long to learn how to do it, it's frustrating because that's the individual that will quit before they get to that one little crossroad where they make the right decision and go one step further. And then now they're at that point where they'll never stop trying. And that's a necessary requirement in this industry because it's so easy to convince yourself it's not worth it. And for a long time, everybody just thought that this stuff is contrived and nobody can be consistent. It can't be predictable. There isn't really any precision, and nobody else can learn it. It's just him doing some kind of magic trick. I have a legion of people all around the world, different walks of life, and they've come forward with their results, and they keep coming forward with their results, and it's in a manner where it can't be faked. And I'm so proud of all of you. I'm so proud of all of you that you've committed your time, effort. You've given up your weekends. You've given up your time in the evening when you come home from work or come home from school. You cram in every possible moment to study and observe and listen and take notes. All that stuff for the folks that are seeing the results. In the beginning, they didn't think it was going to work. If they're going to be 100% honest with you, they were waiting for themselves to be met with the proof that it was not going to work for them. But for those individuals, they kept doing exactly what I said to keep doing, avoiding the things I told them to avoid. And it's hard. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of effort to stay with it. And you don't get cheerleaded. My wife still, she doesn't understand it, and she thinks it's trivial. Like, oh, it's a video game. It's not an impressive thing to me. She doesn't have the capability to understand the difficulty in what we do. It's not easy. Like, you're having to determine the future at a moment's instant, right there. You have to decide, what's the future going to bring right now? Is it going to do this or is it going to do that? And if I don't do it right, it takes from me. It takes from me. So I have a vested interest in the outcome of this future prediction. Whereas you play a board game or you play a video game, okay, well, I can respawn. It's not a big deal. That guy may have taken me out in the game and may laugh at me, do some kind of taunt towards the end of the game, and I got to see that and witness it. But after that, and you respawn, it's over. Who cares? You've done something. You're doing something new. You're distracted. In trading, we don't have that luxury because when it takes something from you, you're in lack. You're underneath the water, and you have to get that back before real progress is seen again. And that difficulty is very intimidating in the beginning. And when you discover just how much you have to go through to really learn about yourself and what you have to overcome and meet and describe, This is what your process of going through this character flaw and overcoming it is going to require. Some of you won't want to do it. Some of you will have to fight kicking and screaming to get through that before you ever see any progress in trading. There's things that we have to beat up in us, conquer, subdue, overtake, hold captive. So that way it gives us time to grow outside of those natural tendencies to be human. We as humans, we live with certain attributes that are negative, but we don't associate them as negative because we've grown comfortable with what they are. It might be codependency. It might be staying in a relationship with someone that you know is absolutely toxic, and you're keeping yourself there because the effort and time and energy of making the change and the scariness of it, you're grown comfortable with that discomfort, and you call it normal. You call that normal. And in the beginning, it's normal for you to feel like it's not going to work for you and to doubt it. It's normal for you to feel like your results aren't worth staying with it because it's probably never going to get better than that. Or you don't do it well in the beginning and you don't see immediate gratification. I needed the very thing that I try to provide for all of you. I needed that and I didn't have it. Through prayer, was, I believe I was ministered to through that and encouraged. But I wanted someone that I could tap into at least once a week. And because it's my nature to be like this, I'm obsessive. I try to be every day in your ears, every day reminding you, this is what you're looking for. This is what you're striving for. This is what you should be focusing on. Don't let this bother you. Keep your focus on this. Keep doing what you're doing. It's going to work. It's going to work every week, every day, and it won't stop. I believe it. I live it. But it has to be constantly reminded to you, even though you can't hit that yet, you will. You will. But you have to go through that progress, that uncomfortable valley where you just don't see where it's going to take you to the higher ground. How long do I got to stay down here? As long as it takes for you. And every single one of you have a journey that you have to walk. I can't walk it with you. You have to do it. Nobody else is going to make it a shorter journey. Nobody can shorten it for you. Okay. Nobody can make it any less painful. You're going to have to go through it. And I try not to sugarcoat that because I want my kids to understand, if I was to be met with an untimely demise, that they hear me tell them, if you don't have me now, you have me telling you these things that are absolutely what I'd be telling you if I was still with you. And it all started on this idea that I watched the Michael Keaton movie, My Life. You know, he had a terminal illness and he said, well, I'm not going to be here when my kid's born. I'm not going to be able to raise him up. And I'm going to just make videos and talk about, hey, this is what we do. And this is what a dad would teach his kid if he was there. I'm going to do all these things. I'll do it in videos. That way, when you grow up, you can watch dad and he'll tell you exactly what he should be telling you if he was there. So because I had anxiety when I was younger, I was fearful I was going to check out early. And I was saying to myself, if I go and I don't make this known, I've been selfish with it. And I've not done a good job of sharing it. And I felt that if I did it in the context of teaching my children and making it available to other people that would be inclined to listen to it, you know, it was a social media experiment. Was there anybody else that I could create by doing this? Could I get another ICT out of that laboratory experiment? Could happen. Can I create profitable students going through the same thing that I went through when I released that content all the way back on Baby Pips? That order is the exact order I went through my journals. The things I went through, the things I focused on, the progress of everything, the order of the content in my core content. That's exactly the order of the importance I placed everything and how I discovered everything. Everything is a pattern of how it was revealed to me. It was absolutely 100% detailed in that order. And I'm waiting to see. That's why I tell all of you, I'm actively, sincerely interested in seeing who does what with it. And there's a lot of you that have done this. You've turned around, you've created mentorships. Some of you have rebranded and renamed the things that I've put out there and foolishly lied and said, I've done those things. when I haven't done that. I'm not impressed with that. I'm not going to shoot you down because you need to eat and you probably have a family and whatnot, and that's fine. The folks that take the information and they do well with it and they go out and they find other people and help them. Yeah. I can tell you here and start crying all the things that people around the world have been doing with what I've shown them how to do. They've built hospital wings with my name over them. And I don't deserve things like that.
You do though, buddy. I want to interject. I want you to know the impact, the global impact that you've had, and the fact that I have a voice. You do deserve it. And you might not see it, but I want you to know and I want you to feel how much love, appreciation, and respect you have for the increase that not only you have been provided, but that you've provided. You do deserve it, brother. You do. You deserve far more than that. Your impact is palpable on the lives of so many. And I want, and I'm blessed to be able to interject on the points that you're making. You do deserve it. And I want to stand on your shoulders and in your shadow as a student, trying to pick up what you've been putting down as just a humble follower. And I want to say with all my heart, brother, you do deserve it. You deserve every blessing that you get. And you've put yourself on Front Street. You've had these challenges and they've done nothing but take you from this angelic cult-like figure to making you an extremely real ass motherfucker. And that realness is why so many people will drop what they're doing because you've got something to say. I want you to understand that the folks here all echo what I'm saying because it's important that you get to hear it. Not for adulation, not for any other reason than you do deserve wings and hospitals to be named after you. The increase that you have provided a global community, it feels divine, Michael. You need to know that as just a peer, as a friend, as a student, as another man, as a mere mortal.
Um, is it okay if I can say something real quick?
I think so.
So, I'm a 21-year-old man, and I live in Canada right now. I'm just trying to be human here and just speak my thoughts. In 2013, the war got really, really, really bad in Syria. I went through a lot. We were better because my dad was a doctor, but it was still just affecting all of us. Right near my house, there was tanks, explosions everywhere. My mom would go get some yogurt. 5 minutes later, she leaves the store, an explosion in the store. Everyone's dead in it, stuff like that. So we went through a lot. And in 2013, I came to Canada. We were the first family to come as a refugee. We were accepted and we came. My aunt was here. She was the one who took care of us. We struggled a lot. So we went through a lot. And it was funny because around like 2.5 years ago, it was like in this. So my family are they're Druze. It's a brand. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a branch from Muslims, but it's totally different beliefs. Well, not totally, but it's different. I never resonated with that, and I started finding Christ around 2.5 years ago, and it was so funny because in the same like 2 weeks where I was trying to find Christ, a Christian friend of mine gave me your name and your content, and I took it as of like that it was from God. This was from God proving himself to me. And I just put in work and it was all there. And I can come here and be thanking you about everything you're doing on the charts, but you already know all that. So I truly want to thank you for making me a better son to my parents. I want to thank you for making me a better brother to my siblings. I want to thank you for making me a better man to my girlfriend, because you changed my whole view on everything. And of course, most importantly, you got me so close to Christ, man. Like, you got me so close to him. It was like, I don't even know. And like the comfort I find in hearing you, man, like you don't understand the comfort. Like, I would have anxiety and I would just listen to you and it would all go away. All of it. Like, it would just fully go away when I hear your voice. You just gave me so much hope, so much confidence in myself. So I'm truly speaking out of my heart when I say thank you, and on behalf of everyone, thank you so much. And I don't know what you decide to do after November, but no matter what, we're going to miss you. And I promise you, because I know myself and I know my ability, I am going to make it. And I promise you that your work will go into good things. I will help people. I will help my family and help the poor people I don't know, because you taught us that we're all brothers and sisters and we all should be helping each other. So truly, truly, thank you for everything you have done, man. That's all.
Thank you.
Well said and well deserved.
Can I also say something?
Well deserved.
Sorry, Kit.
Then, bro.
By the way, yeah, no, how are you doing,
Yeah.
Kit? Thank you so much
First
for
of
opening this
all,
up.
okay.
Just wanted to say it's quite ironic because all throughout my trading career, I started trading 5 years ago when I was 21, and throughout my trading career, I've heard this and that about ICT, ICT this, ICT that. I never really looked into it, right? And it's just funny because last month or a couple months ago, I ran into Kit on his face, and I obviously, Kit, you remember I thought you were ICT, of course, right?
Yeah, I know. I slapped that down. You know that.
Because I didn't know about ICT, who ICT was. So it was just ironic. Kit was on that space and Kit, dropped some gems, well, a lot of gems, was very humble, down to earth, and that kind of opened my mind. I thought, wait a second, these ICT guys are not really what I'm hearing from all these people. What you mentioned about them being a cult, them thinking they're the only kind of traders that are out there, this and that. So that was the first, real introduction I got to ICT, and the last couple months I've been doing a lot of studying on the concepts. Obviously, I'm nowhere near as advanced as most of the guys in here who have ICT in their name.
TWP, is there anything you can do with your audio? Is there a way
Shoot,
you
I got
can
my
improve it?
AirPods in. My
Take out those
Is it better
fucking
now?
things. Oh my god.
Is it better now? Oh my.
Yes. Yeah. Fucking AirPods
Oh
are
shoot,
killing me,
yeah.
bro. All right,
My
go
fault.
ahead.
All right. Yeah, no, sorry. I'm traveling for soccer soon, so I was, listening to you guys while packing my stuff and everything. But anyway, so yeah. No, just to fast forward the story, yeah, listening to Kit first of all kind of got me an introduction to ICT. A few other guys showed me some videos. I started reading, studying the concepts. Like I said, I've been trading 5 years, but I never really understood how ICT worked. And then just to listen to you speak today, you're humble, you're empathetic, you're teaching us, you're open-minded. It's funny because you're so down to earth and so approachable that I'm just so shocked that I never looked into it this much. And like I said, I'm grateful because what you mentioned is really true. What you addressed about the ICT community is really true because there's so much to learn, there's so much to do in the stock market, but it's so difficult to overcome your challenges, your losses, because in this day and age, you have all this social media which helps you, but it can also hold you back. When you have a spaces like this where people come, they share their thoughts, you see they have a similar mindset. For the beginner traders, that's a dream. When someone's so approachable and easy to talk to, someone possesses a warm, welcoming demeanor, it puts you at ease. So I'm happy that you're doing this. Like I said, I would have loved to have this when I started back. Because every failure we hit, we hit it on the head, and it can be detrimental to your trading journey if you're not, mentally tough, if you're not able to bounce back. But obviously it does shape you to become the best trader possible. But like I said, it's just it's so heartwarming to have someone who's so approachable, who's present in the moment, who's easy to listen to actively. And this is the kind of person you want to engage with. So, like I said, I'm just grateful that you're doing this for the community. As you mentioned, when you started trading, you didn't have all of this. Everyone has something, everyone has a lot to learn, but sometimes we're looking for the right person to learn from. Sometimes we're looking for the person who's going to have the correct perspective, who shares the ideas in the right way. So no, I just want to thank you for being so down to earth, like I said, and regardless of how you trade, I'm way different to most of you traders because I trade